Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. It has been forever, like I can't even remember the last time I did a video or did anything book related. So it's been a long time. My room has been changed around a little bit, so now I'm doing it from a webcam, which is really cool, but I can't get my angles right, I can't get the positions right, I don't know where I am, I don't like where I am, because usually I did it from my phone on a tripod, so I could kind of move that anywhere. So now I'm kind of getting used to it. I'm not sure if maybe I can clip this somewhere, I don't know. All logistics, working it out. So today we're going to be talking about another god from Greek mythology, and we are going to be talking about Poseidon, but you already knew that because that's what the title of this video is. So like before, I'm going to be using my books as references to make sure that I get names right, pronunciations, which I'm terrible at, but we're going to be going through these books just to sort of get the information properly, because although I know quite a lot, it's all in me noggin. I do want to make sure that these videos are 100%. So we know that myths are stories, we know that they're legends, we know that people would tell them in Chinese whispers, and we know that they are not 100% accurate, which is why it's fun. There's so many different versions of different things, there's retellings, there's versions that we prefer that are better than the originals, some of them are terrible, the stories, so we change them around a little bit to make them a bit better, and sometimes we turn them into worse stories. So these are going to be our guide, and we're going to make sure that at least this video is from these books and it is as accurate as we can get. Okay. Poseidon. So what do we know about Poseidon so far? Poseidon is one of the 12 Olympians, which means that he is brother to Zeus. So we've got Zeus, Hera, Poseidon, Hades, Hester and Demeter. That is not the order of their births, that is not the order of who they are, but that is the brothers and sisters of Zeus, Hades, Poseidon, Hester, Demeter and Hera. So as we know that his father is Cronus, and we have a video about that already, so if you want to check that out here, go for it. I'm also going to be tagging the Zeus and Hera ones as well, so you can check those out too. Okay, so Poseidon's not one of my favourites. I used to like him when I was younger, and then I learned lots more about him, and then I realised that he was not far off being like Zeus. He's not as bad as Zeus. Nobody could be as bad as Zeus. And I've been seeing a lot of memes lately, Zeus in mythology and Zeus, like what he was actually like, and yeah, a lot of people are agreeing with me. Zeus is a jerk, but that's for another story. We've already done that video, we've already covered that. Okay, so Poseidon is god of the sea. He's also god of earthquakes, and he's also god of horses. Dolphins was also a symbol of his, along with, like I say, the horse. So he would have control over the ocean, whereas Zeus had control over the skies, and Hades had control over the underworld. So it seems quite fun, you know, lord of the sea, lord of oceans, lord of water, lord of being, well, a god. And he was married to a lady called Amphithea. I can't say her name, I'm so bad. If I can try and find it, I can pronounce it for you. So like we usually do, I'm going to write the name at the bottom here, so you can actually see how to say it. I don't know why I do these videos really, I'm so bad.
Amphitrite.
Amphitrite, which is nothing like what I said.
Amphitrite.
Which is Greek, so Amphitrite. So let's just call her Amp, okay, because, you know, I don't want to offend her. So, he was one of the original Olympians. He is brother of Zeus and most famously god of the sea. He was a god of horses, which likely came from the belief that waves could look like galloping horses. That actually works. It's so true. Like, as they're rolling over, they do look like galloping horses, which is brilliant. The ancient Greeks believe that Zeus gave them earthquakes, so they gave him the name Earthshaker. I like that because he shakes the earth. Both horses and dolphins were symbols of Poseidon, and he was often shown in art riding a chariot pulled by a hippocamp, a creature that was half horse and half fish, which we meet in Percy Jackson and the Sea of Monsters. And they're actually doing a TV series by HBO, I think, or Netflix. I am so excited. I'm hoping that they do Percy Jackson justice. I mean, ideally, there would literally be a season for every one of the books, but I'm not sure if they'll do that. However, I think it's going to be so much better than the movies were, because they were very rushed, the actors were older, but I don't care about that, I just love it. So hopefully that they will do this one justice and we will get to meet a hippocamp. Okay, so Poseidon was married to a nymph called Amp, which is what we're going to call her, and they had a number of children, and most notable was Triton. Okay, so he was a son of Poseidon, and he's basically linked to the Little Mermaid. So he was King Trident, out of Ariel, and all of her sisters. So he was the most famous son of Amph and Poseidon. Roman name, as we know, the Greeks had their versions and the Romans had theirs, even though it was caused from the Greeks, it was Greek mythology. The Romans had their own sort of counterparts for that, and his was Neptune, which links us to the planets. So as we know from before, the Romans tended to have space names like Neptune, they would have Venus, they would have Mars. So Mars would be Aries and Venus would be Aphrodite. So they would all have their like solar names. You'd have the goddess of the moon, you'd have Selene, which was moon, things like that. So they wouldn't necessarily go towards names, they would be more space names or like planets. They used the Greek or the mythology that they had to sort of explain the way that the world worked, whereas the Greeks, although they did have that, they did have other names as well. So that's why we have Poseidon, which was Greek, and we have Neptune, which was Roman. Poseidon, he wasn't known for being particularly nice or loving. Instead, he was famous for being very difficult. So we've already got Zeus, who is very much like the leader, and the way he wants things to be done is the way he wants things to be done. We haven't got to Hades yet, but I can tell you that he was very, very different to that. I mean, he was loyal for starters, whereas Poseidon, he was very difficult with things. I don't know whether it's just the sea temperament, you can link him to that, like the way that the sea can be very calm and then all of a sudden there'll be a storm and then you've got the galloping horses coming over. So Poseidon would be very much like the ocean, where he could just change like that. I mean, the ocean for me is quite scary, how it can suddenly just change. I mean, you hear about all these, you know, animal attacks like in the sea, like sharks and stuff, and so on. So I think the sea can be very unpredictable, and I think that's what Poseidon was like. So it's very, very fitting, whether he was unpredictable before he became god of the sea or whether he became unpredictable because he was part of the sea. Nobody knows, but either way, we know that Poseidon is very difficult. In a lot of like mythology, like in Hercules, he's a bit more mellow, but he is still unpredictable. So he would create lots of punishments, unsuspecting horses and mortals. Like his brother Zeus, Poseidon also had a tendency to assault women and nymphs. So if we go back to one of the most famous stories involving Poseidon, and one of the horriblest stories involving him was with Medusa. So he assaulted Medusa while in Athena's temple, and that was seen as something incredibly bad, which it is, but regardless of whether he was sold or not, having something like that happen, or doing something like that, whether it was your own accord or not, in a temple for a god, was frowned upon anyway. So to actually have something happen to her was also just as bad in Athena's eyes. So there's different versions for this. The most common and most well-known version is that Athena found out, and Athena punished Medusa and turned her into a gorgon, and that's how she literally became angry and turned all men into stone. Well, men, man, whoever looked at her, they would all turn into stone. There are other versions which make Athena look a lot better and a lot nicer. Because she couldn't punish Poseidon, the only way for her to be able to punish him was to go for Medusa, was to like protect her from ever having anything like that happen to her again. So she turned her into a gorgon that could turn men to stone. It wasn't so much women, it was more men, because that's what the predator was. So any man that would want to see her in a way, they would turn her to stone. So there are so many different versions to this, but either way, I don't know how I feel about Athena because of that, but I don't like Poseidon because of that. And I know that's just one of the stories, and I know that Zeus has probably done a lot worse, but a lot of the men in Greek mythology, apart from Hades, depending on the version, are disgusting like that, really. So Poseidon was also the father of Percy, who's in Percy Jackson, who's called Perseus. And although Perseus was actually the son of Zeus in the actual films, whereas Theseus is often described as the son of Poseidon, again, these gods would have so many children with so many mortals, and unless the demigod, so for example Hercules, example Perseus, Theseus, unless they did something that the gods would see as worthy or worthwhile to actually care about them, like battling into Troy, battling into any battle that they would go into, basically, if they were going to become famous and they could then be seen as, oh, well, he's my son. They would actually care, whereas I'm sure there were many, many. And if you are really going to believe everything I say about Greek mythology, you could be an ancestor from a demigod or whatever, because they had so many children through so many mortals. It was probably worse to be the guy to do it, really. Okay, so the big story that we need to know about Poseidon is, again, involving Athena. So Athena and Poseidon really, really didn't get along. Like, very rarely did they agree on anything. I don't know whether it's because Zeus, I think his favourite was Athena, or if there was other reasons. But this is one of the stories as to why Athens is called Athens. So before the ancient city-state of Athens was named Athens, the people of the city held a competition. So this is already giving me alarm bells, because any competition that involves any of the gods is going to come out bad. The competition was basically just to see what they were going to call Athens, before it was called Athens. So they decided to host this competition. Both the gods, Athena and Poseidon, put their names into the ring. So they wanted to call it Athena and they wanted to call it Poseidon. In order to prove they're worthy of the city, each of the gods offers up the best thing that they could think of to bestow upon the unnamed city. Then the people would choose their favourite. It was a pretty good deal for the humans. Either way, they would get something valuable for their new city. And because all the gods had different types of gifts, they were going to receive many different gifts, many different things that would help to make this city thrive and prosper. So a competition was held on what would become the top of the Acropolis hill at the centre of the city. I've been there and I know it's ruins now, but it's beautiful. And when you know the story as to why, it just makes it that extra bit special. There the gods made their offerings. Poseidon struck the ground and the hill with his trident, and a stream of water erupted, gushing from the earth. Poseidon was offering the people a constant supply of water, so that's good, that's really good. Worthy of the proposal was something clearly the city could use, but apparently other sources he offered them a horse. I think I'd go with the water, but I don't know if that's just I don't like horses. Athena then caused an olive tree to grow from the ground before the crowd, and the olive tree, she told the people, could provide them with not only wood but also fruit that could be eaten and for which they can make oil. So I don't know if you've ever been to Greece, but they like to dip bread and oil together, and it's delicious, and that's why they make oil. And they use the olives to do all that, obviously, because that's oil. But yes, it's a good gift again. The people selected Athena's offer and named the city after the goddess. So I suppose it depends on the version, like the water or the horse. But I suppose the olive can give them wood, and it can also give them food. Therefore, they can create lots of different things, like the oil to make other foods and things like that taste nice, and also just eat it with the bread. Whereas I suppose with water, it's just life and you need water, but you can get water anywhere else. So I think I agree why they picked Athena's gift instead. So after his defeat in Athens, Poseidon continued to try and become the patron of different cities all over Greece, and he had a habit of fighting other gods for the honour. So again, he's a bit one of those sore losers, you know, when you play Monopoly and he throws the board in the air. He seems a bit like that, which is actually pretty fitting, because Monopoly, you try and collect as many cities and towns as places as you can, so it works out perfect. He is king of Monopoly. In the city of Troezen, he again fought Athena for the title. Again, him and Athena hate each other. In that case, Zeus decided they would both get the city as, be the city's patrons. Poseidon fought with Hera over the city of Argos, which she won, so he's not really good at this, is he? And he fought with the Titan Hellas over the city of Corinth, and Poseidon actually got that one. Woo! Poseidon wins. So according to mythology, it was Poseidon, along with Apollo, who built the walls around the famous city of Troy, but later sent a sea monster to attack the city when the king didn't thank him properly for the walls. Right. The hero Hercules eventually killed the sea monster and gave the city to Troy and saved the city Troy, but Poseidon never gave up his grudge. So from what we've learnt so far from my videos, and you can just Google it right now. If you don't think a god, and if you insult them, you know, Aphrodite, Troy, they will literally punish you. So anything you ask them for, anything you offer them, make sure you say thank you and don't insult them. And that is literally a life lesson. Okay, what else do we want to know about Poseidon? Okay, so again, he was a ruler of the sea, Zeus's brother, and second to only him. So he literally was the second in control, in command, like in charge. I suppose it makes sense. However, Zeus was still the leader. Greeks on both sides of the Aegean, which is the sea around all the Greeks and all of the islands, were seamen, and the god of the sea was so important to them. I mean, if you're living on a little island, literally surrounded by sea, you need that god to be your friend. And it's not just about food, it's also about him not drowning you. I guess like Atlantis, maybe he drowned Atlantis. Ooh, theories. So his wife, Amph, a granddaughter of the Titan Ocean, Poseidon had a splendid palace beneath the sea and was often to be found in Olympus. So he did spend a lot of time in Olympus, whereas someone like Hades didn't. But obviously his domain was the sea, and that's where he lived in his beautiful palace. Lord Poseidon, from you this pride is our own, the strong horses, the young horses, and also the ruler of the deep. He commanded the storm wind rose and the surges of the sea. So all the storms, whether they were aggressive, whether they were good, whether they were nice, with a nice little breeze, he literally controlled them all. So again, he's someone that you never would want to offend, and I probably offended him with this video, which is why it's raining outside. Maybe he controls that, I don't know. But I'm probably going to go and wash up later and just get like drowned by water. But I'm only saying the facts, okay? But when he drove into his golden car over the waters, the thunder of the waves sank into stillness and tranquil peace followed a smooth rolling wheels. He was commonly called Earthshaker, which was also known as the earthquake maker. The pictures that you would see of him would always be him with his trident, which had 3 bits with spikes at the top, and he would always be seen with that in a chariot, which he would then shake and shatter as he pleased. So again, if he was like riding his chariot wherever, he would just create earthquakes. He also had connection with bulls as well as horses, but the bull was also connected to many gods. So a lot of gods have different kind of symbols and different kind of things. Like Hera is actually a pomegranate, whereas Persephone is actually a pomegranate, but it's probably associated more to Persephone because of what happened in the underworld with her and Hades, whereas Hera, it's not associated as much. So the children of Poseidon and his many, many affairs. So although he was married to Amph, he had so many different affairs and so many different children with different people. So these are just a few of them from the book. So again, the gods seem to have a thing about their siblings. And I don't know what people thought back then, but they really did think different things to what we think now. And my view that it's weird and gross still stands. But okay, let's just put that on the side for a second because it's not very nice. When Demeter, who is Poseidon's sister, when she was grief-stricken and really, really upset because Poseidon, her daughter Persephone, who is also her niece, because it's Zeus's daughter. I never really thought that her daughter was her niece before. That's weird. Why did I never think of that? Obviously, it's her brother's daughter. Oh, again, while Demeter was grief-stricken, Poseidon decided to try and get with her, basically. So Demeter, while she was running away from all of this, transformed herself into a mare. But Poseidon, who, couldn't be deceived by something like this, turned himself into a stallion and chased her, and this way he fathered the immortal horse Arion, which later was passed on to Hercules. So again, that's something which you've already found out, which is really disgusting. The second one, he actually saved someone from assault of a satyr, chasing them off with his trident. And in the process of this, he fell in love with her, taking her by force. So again, that's the second one. And then became father to Neopolis. Poseidon also impregnated Medusa. So whilst we were talking earlier about the story about him with Athena and Medusa in the temple, he impregnated her with Pegasus and Chrysos, which both become born from her neck when Bropthon decapitated her. So whilst they chopped off her neck, that was when the 2 horses were born. Same night that the Argonauts slept with Athria, Poseidon slept with her as well, and in this way becoming second father to the hero Theseus, and then with the nymph Theosa and the daughter of the sea entity Pyrrhus, he became father to the Cyclops Polythemus. Polyphemus, and he's one of the most famous Cyclopses around. And if you go back to Percy Jackson, he was the one that had the theme park, and the satyr pretended that he was a female Cyclops, and they tried to escape with the golden fleece. I mean, already we've had like, what was that, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 already. I mean, I know Zeus had more than that, and these are just a few of the ones that he's had, but oh, I don't know what it is with these men. I don't know why I like Greek mythology so much. Among those who felt Poseidon's wrath were the Tritons and the Odysseans. The god's hatred for the former steamed up the period of servitude to the Trojan king Laomedon, who refused to pay him and Apollo for building the city's walls. As for Odysseus, he incurred his anger by binding the monstrous Prometheus, and as a consequence, the god ensured that his journey home from Troy would both be long and difficult, filled with perils of the sea. So this is in a film, I believe it's Clash of the Titans, where they prison him up, and there's a princess and a demigod who tries to save her. Then we've got Minos, the king of Crete. He also incurred the god's displeasure after asking Poseidon to ratify his claim to the throne by producing a bull from the sea. Poseidon obliged him, but Minos subsequently broke his promise to sacrifice the animal to the god. As a result, Poseidon caused his wife to develop a passion for the bull, and infatuation resulted in the birth of a Minotaur. So basically, Minos asked for a bull, Poseidon gave him the bull. But because he didn't sacrifice the bull to the gods, he basically made his wife get with the bull and create a Minotaur. So, okay, again, don't offend Poseidon. As for Poseidon's attributes and distinguished characters, he was also represented as a mature, bearded man holding a trident, not a child in a nappy. Animals sacred to him included the bulls, the horses and dolphins, and as regards to plants, he had a special connection with pine, which was particularly well suited for the production of the ship's mast. So again, very sea related. The Romans identified him as Neptune instead of Poseidon. I believe that might be it. So yeah, that's pretty much the story of Poseidon. I don't know what you want to think, whether you want to like him or dislike him. I don't know. I think he had really cool powers, and I think that he was an asset in Greek mythology, because if someone didn't create some of these stories, there wouldn't be stories to tell. And you know, you can't always have good people, although so far we've only got Hera, who even inflicted bad things on people that have upset her. So far we're not really going down a line where we kind of like the gods and goddesses. I don't know how you feel. I've got a spot for Hera. I mean, she's on my t-shirt, so you know, I love her and I think she's brilliant. But that's just through me loving certain stories and really understanding who she is as a person. What a god. But yeah, so Poseidon, I'm not too fond of at all. So yeah, so I hope you enjoyed this video. Can't wait to hear what you think about Poseidon down below. And let me know your thoughts and views on him, because like I say, I don't rate him. He's done a lot of bad. I mean, I love Medusa a lot, and I hate the whole story with that. And I don't really hate him as much as Zeus, but I don't like him at all. But yeah, next week we're going to be talking about Hades. I'm actually going to record this video now, so I'm definitely going to have the video uploaded for you. And then we're going to go on and talk about Persephone, seeing as they are together. So we're going to be doing a video probably about them both, considering I believe that there's so much of the story is them two together, and it makes sense to have them together. So I'm going to do Hades, bit of Persephone, back Persephone, and then back to both of them. That's the way I'm going to do this video. Let me know in the comment section below if there's any gods and goddesses that you want me to do soon or a bit earlier on, and I can move that around and do that. Whereas I'm kind of just following the book at the moment to kind of go from there, because I feel like it's a pretty good guide, and then I'm referring to the other books for more stuff if there's anything I don't know. But yeah, Hades and Persephone is my loves. I love them so much, so I'm going to enjoy that video. So I'll see you guys soon, and again, let me know, are you Team Poseidon or not? See you guys soon. Bye.